1971 and see how things went for the riders lining up to start the Daytona 200 on the sort of machines we think of as classic just 25 years later. We join them on Sunday morning as they head towards their places on the grid.
You can feel the excitement and the tension. Daytona is a tough race to win. To do it, you've got to approach speeds of 160 miles per hour in the straightaways. To a tremendous start with Gary Fisher on a Honda leading the first lap, followed by Paul Smart, Triumph Trident, Mike Halewood, BSA Rocket 3, and Dick Mann, BSA Rocket 3. Fisher holds the lead for the first 5 laps, with Smart capturing it in the 6th lap. Smart holds the lead until the 8th lap. By the 11th lap, Don Imdy works his way up to 4th. Gene Romero reaches 5th. The BSA Rocket 3 and Triumph Trident riders are in top form, holding the first 5 positions. What a duel between Smart and Halewood. Wow, look at that start. Halewood races out in front with Mann trailing right behind and Smart falling back to 3rd. Halewood is retired now and Smart pulls into the lead with Mann close behind. Dick Mann takes a pit signal and overshoots the first turn but recovers quickly. Number 3 BSA's Dave Aldana is in for a pit stop while the race goes on. Smart's bike has gone on 2 cylinders and Dick Mann is in the lead. Aldana is back into the race running well. Triumph's Gary Nixon moves into 5th place, broken leg and all. Uh-oh, trouble. Nixon's bike is broken and he's out. If his luck holds out, Mann will be the 1971 Daytona 200 winner. And so the grueling race wears on and on, with temperatures reaching the 90s and the sun beating down relentlessly on riders and spectators alike. But these machines display amazing endurance. Dixon is the Daytona 200 winner for the second year in a row with a record speed of 104.737 miles per hour on a BSA Rocket 3. Gene Romero is in second place on a Triumph Trident, with Don M.D. finishing third on yet another BSA Rocket 3. It has truly been a day for the big 3 cylinders.
That's the way it was, and this is the way it is in the modern pit lane as Stu Rogers notches up another win during a race on the banked oval, which would normally have a rolling start. As it is, the riders won't visit this section of the track again once they've joined the racetrack proper at the start of turn 1 just up in front of us. For Conroy, the race got off to a reasonable start and all the problems of practice seemed to be behind him. Third going into the left-hander, but quite clearly the Harley isn't going to be the fastest item on the racetrack, especially in the turns. But infield agility has never been a noted strong point for these big thumpers. The infield section begins with that left turn, goes through a short chicane down to the hairpin at the east horseshoe, round to the right, and then a short straight before you come to the dog leg, which is a left turn. Off the gas and trail the throttle and then back on, heading towards a right-handed hairpin at the west horseshoe. Back on the gas again and heading back almost to the starting point, heading towards a left-handed hairpin almost 180 degrees, which brings you out onto the start of the banking at what would be turn 1 on the NASCAR oval, just a few yards from where you turned off. Once they get out of that looped section of the circuit, the half-dozen turns of the International Horseshoe, and out onto the vast concrete banking of the oval, the Harley begins to pick up time. This combination of 2 different racing environments is what makes Daytona such a challenge and forces riders to have a bike which is fast and nimble. You can't hide a deficit in either area, and you can seldom compensate for lack of speed by overriding in the infield. Daytona is a big test of man and machine, and on this occasion it all went terribly wrong for Pat Conroy and the Harley almost as soon as the race began. And just when it seemed that he'd begun to settle into a groove and was starting to make steady progress up through the field in pursuit of the leaders.
Well, we're running pretty good, and I got a good start. I burned them off the start and was up in the top half dozen. And I just was trying too hard to be up there in the top 10 at the end of the race. And the brakes were working well, and I was able to pick up some ground in the corners. And turn 1 is probably the hardest turn at this track, because you're going from full speed, as much as you can go, down to about as slow as you can go. So I tried to make up a little ground in turn 1 and got on the brakes real late, and it was just too late. And at that point, I chose to drop.
As Jeff Duke sets off on the Gilera, the pit lane echoes to a different exhaust note behind him. Another motorcycle legend being honoured during Bike Week was Kiwi design engineer John Britton, whose radical 1000cc V-twin was ridden in the Bears race by Andrew Stroud. Flagged away from the start line by John Britton's wife Kirsty, the V-twin leaves the pit lane as the Gilera leads yet another parade of classic machinery around the banking, to the delight of the fans and, of course, the riders. What's it like going around here on that?
It's wonderful.
Yeah?
It's wonderful.
Andrew Stroud on his way to take part in the Bears race. But the next race on our schedule is a reappearance of the Legends riders.
I like because, you know, it's especially because I use my old MV, and it's a nice souvenir for me.